launched it, advising a firm called A4E. I wish Mark had been here, he would have been able to tell you the degree to which this firm, not only in the welfare sector, but also in job centres now, are delivering what formerly used to be delivered by public and civil servants in the job centres. Lord Warner, a former health minister, 6 firms. Hilary Armstrong, again, Home Office, waste companies and others. Nick Rainsford Housing, 2 firms. Ian McCartney Trade now gets £110,000 a year for advising a US energy contractor. Stephen Byers, Trade and Industry, 2 firms. Richard Caborn, Trade Minister, 70,000. Notice these figures, man, they're all born and getting as MPs. They're making more on the side moonlighting than they even get from the MPs' salaries. Brian Wilson Energy, Stephen Laderman Transport, Frank Field Welfare. They're all advising the same private firms that when they were in public office, they were in charge of either regulating or bringing forward the new schemes by which these private firms now make a huge profit. Let me just, as I say, I was going to go through Simon Stevens, by the way, who was the Chief Health Advisor number 10 to Tony Blair, who is now the Chair of United Health UK, the British arm of a huge multi-billion-pound American conglomerate, which is bidding up and down the country for the contracts to run GP services in your town and your city, and it's chaired by the bloke that we used to run the health service advice unit for Tony Blair. But let me just read you to finish the paragraph about Pat Hewitt. Patricia Hewitt was Health Secretary from 2005 to 2007. She's now Senior Advisor to Sinbad, that's spelled with a C, not an S, by the way, a private equity-backed private hospitals and healthcare group, for which she receives £55,000 a year. She's also a special consultant for £45,000 a year to Alliance Foods, yes, the chemist on your corner, which is owned by a private equity firm, KKR. In addition, she's the director of BT Group, which provides outsourcing IT and telecoms to the public sector, a range of public bodies. She established Ofcom, and in an earlier job as Secretary of State for Trade and Industry, was in charge of the National Programme for IT, in which BT won the largest contract for supplying public sector IT and computing. She also has another job as an advisor for £60,000 a year in return for 22 days a week a year. So that's the best part of £200,000 from a Labour former Secretary of State advising private companies on how to get more profit out of our public service. Now, I've only got 3 or 4 minutes left, so let me finish now in double quick time. The reason for perhaps belabouring that point a bit is the corrosive nature now, the systemic relationship between Labour and big business has gone beyond the point which anyone on the left of Labour can do anything about addressing. Apart from the fact something like 250,000 people have left the Labour Party in the last 11 years, some 5 million former Labour voters have deserted the Labour Party. There are not the troops inside Labour to do anything about it. So in our view, a new party has to be built, and a new party based on working people itself has to be built. Now, how that party is constructed, what sort of relationship and precise nature that party has, to a certain extent will be determined by the nature of people who join it and to in what order they join it. We would wish to see working people, in particular activists from the trade unions and from working class communities, young people, activists from the anti-war and the environmental movement, those campaigning against climate change. And the key part of that campaign is within the trade unions. Why we were proud this summer in 2 conferences in particular, the CWU and Unison Conference, where supporters the CNWP were instrumental in engaging a major debate in those 2 unions about their relationship financially with the Labour Party itself. We want to see the trade unions break from Labour. They gave £200 million in the 1980s to Labour in the hope that it would be better than the Tories. They've given over £100 million to Labour since Labour was elected in 1997. And what do you get in return? You get Peter Mandelson, a retread 3 times round, putting back into the Secretary of State for Business and Trade. What's the very first thing he said? Now I'm back. I want to carry on from where I left off in privatising the post office. If the CWU in March of this year does not learn from that lesson and break its financial relationship with the Labour Party, then its leadership is not worthy of the name of being a leader of a trade union movement. We would hope as a campaign that the currently politically independent trade unions, the PCS, the FPU, the RMT, the prison officers, and hopefully others like the CWU in the future, could come together and organise on a much bigger scale what the RMT did a couple of years ago, and that is a conference for an independent voice for trade unions, a new political voice for trade unions. Now, in doing that, we're not trying to say that those of you in this room today, those who join this campaign, are in embryo exactly what that new party would be like. This is not about creating a new party in miniature, but it can have elements of what that new party should be. Federal, inclusive, not top-down as we've seen regretfully in previous examples. We can show how in Coventry and Lewisham with the Socialist Party there have been elections where this is electorally attractive to people, the socialist message which is being put forward. Respect can show in Birmingham and East London. Community campaigns in Barra, in Kidderminster and Wigan and elsewhere can show that there are points of support to the left of Labour for new independent political ideas. And if we can build that national framework, if we can create a new challenge, it will be welcome if leading individuals, and I will name them here today, people like John McDonnell, people like Tony Blair and others who do have a reputation on them, if they would lend their weight to a new campaign, then in the same way as Oscar Lafontaine made a particular difference to the development of the new Left Party in Germany, that would help. But we're not travelling at the speed of the slowest wagon. This campaign will go on and will be built with support from other individuals and organisations, or if we have to do it around the forces we've already established. It needs to be a serious campaign, as we made the point previously. Therefore, we hope that yourselves in the weeks ahead will come together as a steering committee of the campaign as requested, initially regionally, eventually locally, and organise new public meetings to develop the ideas for the campaign in your areas, and particularly try and get debates in trade unions, in trades councils over the next few months on the fundamentals that we're putting forward. So to finish, comrades, thanks very much for coming and listening to this idea. Listen carefully to the contributions now to be made from those who are going to try and add to this debate. And let me finish with this summary. Labour is no longer seen by millions of ordinary people as their party, as it was by an older generation in the past. The left within the Labour Party are at its weakest point for perhaps a century. We don't really have a variety of political parties in this country anymore. It's like three wings of one great party that has at its core the defence of capitalism and of big business. We could do with help all quarters, but we're not going to travel, as I say, at the speed of the slowest wagon. We are bringing together already in this campaign the essential key building blocks, but a mass membership is more likely to come out of mass events. The FPU, for example, broke the Labour Party out in its experience of its 2002 strike. The RMT broke the Labour Party on a similar key position with regards to its support for socialism in Scotland. The CWU will measure its relationship to the Labour Party by the rapid closure of mail centres and thousands of jobs which have been cut by new Labour. We are hampered to a certain extent by failed attempts, which I haven't got time to develop over the past 10 or 15 years. We're not going to be put off by those. We have learnt the lessons, particularly by those, and you all know who I mean when I say that those who believe in rule or ruin do not have a part to play in this movement. More and more people are questioning the capitalist system, not only here, but in other countries. I know Mark wants to speak in particular about events in recent days in America. We feel, comrades, that we have to give a new political vehicle, an independent political voice, and the confidence to thousands and tens of thousands of people in this country that they can bring about real socialist change. That, in essence, is what this campaign is all about. And if at the end of today you're interested in it, please fill out the forms and join us in building a new independent political vehicle for working people.